Okay, today is 9/21 and we are comparing parts of ratios. Comparing parts of ratios. You'll also sometimes hear this be called comparing parts to the whole. Do what? In math? Trigonometry. Triangles. So, number one, the sales trend of 2 albums is 1 to 2. So it sounds like for every, I don't know, what name of the singer? Okay, and another singer. Okay, so for every Drake album that sells, there's 2 Taylor Swift albums that sell. A store sells 100 copies of the first album, of the Drake album. Based on this trend, how many copies of the 2 albums will they sell altogether? So, the ratio is 1 Drake album for every 2 Taylor Swift albums. Yes, I am Swiftie for life. So, a store sells 100 copies of the Drake album. The question is, how many albums will they sell altogether? So if they sell 100 copies of the Drake album, how many copies of the Taylor Swift album? 200. And you gotta admit, Anti-Hero, Midnight's a good album, right? So, that's times 100. So we multiply this by 100. So my question is the answer 200? No. What's the answer? 300, because you need to add these together. 100 plus 200 makes 300 albums all together. Questions on that? Okay, number 2. Anna sells graphic tees to tank tops at a 5 to 8 ratio. Today, she sold 25 graphic tees. Based on this sales trend, how many graphic tees and tank tops will Anna sell altogether today? So the ratio is 5 graphic tees for every 8 tank tops. She sold 25 graphic tees today. What's the multiplier that takes 5 up to 25? Times 5. And we know for a ratio relationship, if we multiply one number by 5, we need to multiply the other number by 5 as well. What's 8 times 5? 40. So how many graphic t-shirts and tank tops will she have sold all together today? 65. Any questions? Okay, can you try 3 and 4 on the back? 3.
Good grief. Good God. It's a big number.
All right, if you would please check your work. These answers seem okay? Any questions? Okay. The next paper. I know we went from lesson 1 to lesson 3. We skipped 2 for a reason from this little part of the book. Because 3 is basically the same thing. So, using ratios to compare parts to the whole means compare the individual groups to the altogether group. So number 1, a brand manager surveyed customers at a grocery store about their juice preferences. What is the ratio of customers who prefer the competitor brand to the number of customers surveyed altogether? So, how many blocks do we have here? 5. And how many prefer the competitor brand? So the ratio is 3 to 5. It's a 3 to 2 ratio of people who like the competitor versus the store brand, but a 3 to 5 ratio of people who like the competitor to just everybody surveyed. So moving forward, we got to be careful about what each of the numbers in the ratio means, because there's a distinction between 3 to 5 and 3 to 2, but they actually represent the exact same thing here. Break that down a little bit. Sean is running a promotion at his souvenir shop. Buy 5 t-shirts and get 2 t-shirts free. If 350 t-shirts are sold and given away altogether, so at the end of the day, he's moved 350 shirts out of his store, whether they were free or sold, it just depends on that ratio. How many free t-shirts did he give away today? So it might be a little bit difficult to tell, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks that are a darker color and 2 that are a lighter color. The first 5 represent the shirts that were sold, and the last 2 represent the ones that were free. Now, altogether, he moved 350 shirts. So this entire bar represents 350. What goes in each one of those blocks if the entire thing adds up to 350? I hear 50? Yeah, 350 divided by the 7 blocks gives us 50 in each box. The ratio of free t-shirts to total shirts that were moved, well, there's 2 free t-shirts for every 7 that were sent out of the store. Does that sound fair? The fraction of free t-shirts to total t-shirts is just 2 over 7. We've not worked with fractions quite yet. That's the page that we skipped. If the ratio is 2 to 7, the fraction is 2/7. Solve the problem. Now they want us to do it like this. Take that fraction, 2 over 7, and multiply it by 350. Because if it's a 2 to 7 ratio of free to all shirts, 2/7 of all the shirts are free. Then just type in 2/7 times 350. I want you to make a little note down here. Alpha y equals 1. You would just make that little note. Alpha y equals 1. That's your calculator shortcut to get a nice pretty fraction template. If you hit the green alpha button, your cursor turns to a little blinking A. Then hit the y equals button in the upper left corner. A little menu is going to pop up asking you a bunch of stuff. You can either hit the number 1 or really just hit enter to select that first option, n/d. That gives you a fraction template where you can type in 2/7. So 2, hit the down arrow, 7, hit the right arrow, times 350. That gives us 100. So he gave away 100 free shirts. Did we already know that? Well, yeah, looking at this bar diagram, we saw that the free shirts 50 and 50 make 100. Okay? The way we've been finding these ratios and parts was instead of saying 2/7 times 350, 2/7 times one of those two numbers, but we didn't know one of those two numbers. We only knew the whole number. So that's why we had to do it a little bit differently. We feel okay about this one. Do we need to see one more example? Let's go through one more example on the back then. Number 3, at a pet store, the ratio of premium dog food to generic dog food is 3:5. So, these first 3 blocks are the premium. These last 5 blocks are the generic. Hey, how many blocks is that total? 8. A 3:5 ratio tells you that there was 8 things total. A ratio of 3 premium dog foods to 5 generic dog foods tells you that there's 8 dog foods total. Well, all of those total to 48. What is 48 divided by 8? 6. So each of these blocks represents 6. And at this point, we already know the answer. The final question is, blank bags of generic dog food were sold on Sunday. 6 times 5 is 30, right? How they want us to get there, though, is instead of just filling in that bar diagram, make a fraction out of it. The ratio of generic dog food to total dog food is 5:8. So the fraction of generic to total would be 5/8. 5 to 8 and 5/8 are the exact same thing. To get that 30, we're going to say 5/8 times 48. It comes out to 30. We feeling okay about this now? Okay. Okay, try number 4, please.
No, I wouldn't let that happen.
So on that one, the ratio of designers to total employees comes out to 6 designers for every 8 employees. That ratio 6 to 8 simplifies down to 3 to 4. On a multiple choice, if I was asking you what is the ratio, 6 to 8 wouldn't be an option. I mean, you'd be right, but it's not simplified. You need to simplify it down to 3 to 4. Same thing is true with the fraction. If I ask you for what fraction of employees are designers, the answer would be 3/4. The nice thing is for that final answer, even if you don't simplify it, you'll still get the same answer. 6/8 of 32 is the same thing as 3/4 of 32. So your final answer is 24. Any questions? Y'all feeling okay? Okay, go ahead and put this paper in your binder and the other one. Go ahead and put your name, today's date on here as well. So number 1, a coffee shop tends to sell hot coffee and iced coffee at a 2 to 3 ratio. A says model this situation using a bar diagram. A 2 to 3 ratio is going to have how many blocks? 5. If it helps, you're more than welcome to have them kind of disjointed. Like that. That still works as long as you know that in total, for every 2 hot coffees and 3 iced coffees, it's 5 coffees in total. So this paper is going to ask us a lot of questions about each of these models. B, on Monday, the coffee shop sold 250 cups of hot coffee. How many iced coffees were sold? Okay, so if hot coffee, those 2 blocks total to 250, how many hot coffees go in each block? So what I'm asking is if the hot coffees total to 250. What's 250 divided by 2? 125. So how many iced coffees were sold? 375 sound okay? C. On Tuesday, the coffee shop sold 300 iced coffees. How many hot coffees were sold? So now they've sold 300 iced coffees. What goes in each block? What's 300 divided by 3, y'all? 100. So since the first two blocks represent all the hot coffees that were sold, how many hot coffees were sold? 200. Okay, part D, we're getting a little bit trickier here. On Wednesday, the coffee shop sold 180 cups of hot coffee. How many coffees were sold in total? So, let's make that 2 to 3 ratio again. And it says we sold 180 cups of hot coffee. So what number goes in each block? 90. So how many total cups of coffee were sold? 450. We sold 180 hot cups and 270 iced coffees. On Thursday, they sold 450 iced coffees. Thursday, they're really selling some iced coffee there. What number goes in each block? 150. So how many total coffees would they have sold that day? $750? And F. On Friday, the coffee shop sold 600 cups of coffee total. So how many of those would have been iced coffee? So using that 2 to 3 ratio, in total, we sold 600. Did I hear what number goes in those boxes? 120. So how many of those were iced coffees? 360. Well, y'all, we're getting to the point where we need to sort of kind of step away from working with all of those bar diagrams. Okay? So let's do number 2 together. Let's draw the bar diagram for A, but then not use it for B through F. Okay? It's going to feel like it's going a lot quicker because we don't have to do all this drawing. Okay? Number 2. A merchandising company sells bundles of 10 custom pins for every 1 custom water bottle. So, I don't want to draw 10 to 1 a bunch of times. I mean, I hated drawing that just now. And I don't want to have to fill in all those little itty bitty numbers that go in there.
I have to draw it.
I'd appreciate if you draw it just one time, just so you suffer with me as well. Now again, if you want, you can use this bar diagram to answer all these questions. I just don't want to. So a bundled order for Bazinga Incorporated is 300 pins. How many water bottles did Bazinga order? So, what is the ratio of water bottles to pins? Do what? 1 to 10. So make the fraction 1/10. There's a 1 to 10 ratio of water bottles to pins. Multiply that by the 300 pins, and you get 30 bottles. C. The bundled order for Calistar Limited is for 50 water bottles. How many pins did they order? What is the ratio of pins to water bottles? 10 to 1. Which is really just 10. When we multiply that by the 50 water bottles that were sold, we get 500 pins. Okay, part D. A bundled order for Devon Corp is for 800 pins. How many total bundled products, so pins and bottles, did they sell altogether? What is the ratio of everything to just the pins? $11 to $10. So there's 11 of all of it for every 10 of just the pins. Multiply that by 800. What do we get? 880. E, a bundled order for Evanson Brothers is for 11 bottles. How many total bundled products were ordered? Okay. The ratio of everything to bottles is 11 to 1. For every bundle of 11 products, one of them is a water bottle. Multiply that by the 11 water bottles that were sold. We get 121 total items. And last, F, a bundled order for Frozo frozen yogurt is for 825 products. How many bottles were ordered? So, what is the ratio of bottles to everything in a bundle? There's one bottle for every 11 things in that bundle. 1 in every 11 things in a bundle is a bottle. Multiply that by 825. By the way, y'all, when you're doing these, you don't have to use that fraction template if you just carefully say 1/11 times 825. You'll get the answer 75. I'm going to leave it up to you as to which way you prefer to get those answers. Eventually it will get quicker for you, probably a little bit easier for you if you start working with the ratios and fractions, okay? Scale of 1 to 5, how are we feeling right now? 1 being, I hate this, 5 being, this is super easy.
I'm really gonna go with 4
4 3/4, I will take that. All right, y'all. If you would please, try 3 and 4, 5, and 6 on the back.